Good afternoon. My name is John Kang, and I'm here to talk to you about our journey at Cox Automotive, building data pipelines using Prefect Cloud to support our workforce analytics team, building dashboards and data applications. To put this into context, I'd like to provide an introduction to our company. So Cox Automotive, we focus on building products for the B2B automotive industry, and consumers may know some of our brands such as AutoTrader, Dealer.com, and Kelley Blue Book. We're part of Cox Enterprises International, and this is a 50,000 employee, $22 billion in revenue company. Sister company you may have also heard of is Cox Communications, which is a major cable telecom internet company. And the subsidiary at Cox Automotive I support is called Mannheim Auto Auctions. It's about 18,000 employees, about 3 billion in revenue, and we are North America's leading provider of vehicle remarketing services with the largest wholesale used vehicle auction network of about 70 plus traditional auction sites across the United States. And within Mannheim Auto Auctions, I'm part of a workforce analytics team supporting our 70 plus sites and our corporate team with analytical dashboards and data applications to help plan labor and equipment across all of our sites. So, quick executive summary. So, we had a big challenge, right? We were building these applications and dashboards with disparate data sources, and we're coming into challenges keeping them updated and refreshed. We started building our scripts in Python, so we needed some way of orchestrating all of these data pipelines in Python. And we needed some way to orchestrate it and visualize it and make it observable so that we could trust the data and the applications, and to support all of our data applications, have some sort of self-service orchestration view because not all of our team members were fluent programmers. We need to quickly demonstrate ROI, deploy it nationwide, have high uptime, and security needed to be at the forefront of concern in whatever tool we chose. So, like I said before, our challenge was how do we support our sites with the right decisions driven by the right data to support staffing and equipment investments. We had to orchestrate hundreds of data pipelines to ensure our planning applications could reliably operate. This is all driven by a team of arguably non-data engineers. So we had two alternatives we were considering. So one is GUI tools. You can see in the bottom, right? We are experienced using Alteryx. If you don't know Alteryx, it's a graphical user interface tool that allows you to do some data transformations, but it didn't offer the flexibility, reliability, scalability to support our growing data applications. It's good for prototyping. And then we were looking at legacy tools like Airflow. The problem with that is we'd have to manage an entire backend, plus learn the specifics of Airflow. And that seemed like a big hurdle to overcome. So in 2022, I was actually at PyCon in Salt Lake City, shopping around, learning about what other options there were besides those two. I was looking at Airflow and Alteryx, and we talked to Prefect. It seemed like a great solution. Started investigating it, and the more I learned, the more I thought this could be the way forward. And that transition actually was fairly easy. So I attended the first PAC, the Prefect Associate certification course. That was in the summer, right as Prefect 2.0 was launching. It was a great opportunity to learn for a week, led by Prefect engineers, a combination of theory and practical exercises. In addition, as we transitioned our data pipelines from Alteryx and Excel and just Python, we really leaned on the documentation and examples. It was great. It was clear examples, easy to understand. And then as well, as I started off, we weren't paying customers yet, so I heavily relied upon the Slack support, Slack channel, and then as well as we became paying customers, the customer success team. Some of the key features that we relied upon. I've mentioned some of this previously, but let me dig in a little bit more. So the first one, Cloud UI. That's really important for us. One, that it's in the cloud, so we don't have to manage it and manage the infrastructure around the orchestration like many other tools have us do. And secondly, that there's a UI, that we have team members that may be less comfortable in the code or management, but they could still see the health of our data pipelines, do reruns, see the statuses of our data pipelines in a nice UI. Secondly, the conversion of our existing Python code was actually very simple using decorators at flow at task so that we gain the observability and the repeatability, the retries, all of that in Prefect fairly simply. Thirdly, we started relying upon Prefect's blocks. That was a feature in 2.0 to house our secrets. So our passwords, our user IDs. Fourthly, this was important as our team grew and the data pipelines grew in scale. We transitioned from running our flows and tasks and these deployments from virtual machines hosted on our infrastructure into cloud infrastructure, namely Google Kubernetes, to run large data conversions as well to make it more distributed. Another important part was tied with the cloud UI is that we could trust the data within our applications because we would have alerts when things would fail, when things would be out of bounds, and there'd be retries. Next thing is this idea of heterogeneous infrastructure. So Prefect is agnostic to running within, say, our Windows VMs or Linux VMs, or even in like a cloud Kubernetes. It orchestrates all of that. And as well, we've pushed it so that it actually refreshes the data within our applications. And I'll get into that a little bit more in the next slide. And lastly, like I spoke about before, we have a team of they're not all engineers. So it helps to have a simple way to onboard them and deploy flows so they don't have to think about all the infrastructure. We've set up self-service. So we've got a GitHub repo with a CI/CD pipeline that quickly deploys flows and allows people to transition into using Prefect pretty easily. In this slide, I'll get into a case study of one of our most important applications. It's a workforce and equipment planning application, Scenario Planner, and it's all powered by data and insights driven by Prefect. We built this in collaboration with Plotly using Dash Enterprise. And we built this data application so that we could do scenario planning as demand shifted and changed across our network. We needed to not only be able to visualize it, but be able to understand how to react with our labor and equipment. This application was easy to use for non-technical users, allowed us to model changes in demand. And this data hydration, which I mentioned previously, was actually managed by Prefect. We were at first relying upon cron, but we lost that observability and the retries that I really liked with Prefect. So we started using Prefect within our application server to refresh our Redis and Postgres caches. It's doing a wonderful job doing that. The next two slides will show a little demo of our application. So this first view, we call it a multi-site view. You can see the capacity health of our 70 plus auto auctions across the United States. And not only that, we've got scenario planning built in, so you can do what if analysis, right? What if client A decides to increase by X number of vehicles per week and client B decides to go down and client C, the work content changes. What's that going to do across our network? How do we shift and start shifting demand and labor and equipment so that we can optimally meet the demand that we have with our supply? The next slide is one where we could hone in on one site at a time. This was our single site view. So in this instance, we're looking at one site, Georgia. We look at the forecast and how that translates to the demand and with the current supply. Do we have too much labor, not enough labor? What are we going to do about that? And this allows our corporate users and our site leaders to be able to react to changes in demand dynamically using a simple and easy to use tool that's all hosted in the web, powered by Prefect. And the data is all served up hourly into this application so it's fresh. So our second to last slide. So we really needed to demonstrate ROI to corporate leadership fairly quickly. So that's point number one. Prefect allowed us, because of the cloud SaaS offering and as well the way that you can build flows and tasks, to deliver a solution very quickly and demonstrate ROI to our corporate leaders. Secondly, security. The separation of concerns that Prefect has between orchestration and code and data allowed us to bring Prefect into our supply chain system, passed all of our security audits, and then we can work with Prefect to authenticate users. So it passed all of the security concerns that our IT teams had. And lastly, this really helped solve our pain point of data pipeline, building that with a team that is not a full data engineering team. It allowed us to eliminate workflows with large flat files, avoid these external databases so we could rely upon Prefect bringing data in, transforming it, and pushing it into our cloud data warehouse. The analytic data warehouse we use is Snowflake. And once it's in there, we use dbt and Prefect to orchestrate the transformation of that raw data into insights that we can use in our applications. I appreciate the time you've given me. If you have any questions, please reach out.